All right, so here's our old tire inflator. So we're going to replace parts bit by bit, starting with the chuck and working our way down to the body. The chuck itself has its own rebuild video. All generations of chuck are rebuildable. First, I'm going to take this off our hose with a simple wrench. So this is a 9/16 and a 11/16.
Much later.
All right, well, that was more difficult than I anticipated with 15-year-old Loctite. If that happens to you, what I would recommend is getting a propane torch and just kind of heating up and melting that Loctite, and that'll help get these two parts disconnected from each other. But now that I have the chuck off, I can more easily rebuild it, or in this case, I can take our newest Hippo 2 chuck and just screw it onto this old hose. Instead of doing that, we're going to replace the hose entirely. So this is a brand new stainless steel tire inflator hose whip. These are 2-foot version, and it has 1/4-inch NPT compatible threads at both ends with the O-ring. To adapt to this model tire inflator, you'll need to use the brass coupler, and that just screws on. For the middle generation, basically our last generation tire inflator, where this cylinder is a separate piece from the body, you'll use the red adapter. And they'll both be included when you purchase any new spare part hose. But we'll get this tight with a 9/16 and a 5/8, just until we get metal to metal. You don't want to crank it down, otherwise the swivel won't work as well. Alright, and so for the connection into the body, because there's no O-ring, I'm going to put a drop of 243 Loctite. This is medium strength blue. I like this because it's easier to disassemble in the field, but it still does a good job of sealing. Just a little drop on there, and then we could tighten this down. Okay, it's tight. Don't need to crank it down too hard. And there's my new hose. Swivels on both ends. That's really nice. If I wanted to, if this chuck was still good, I can screw it onto here. Or, of course, I want the newest, latest, and greatest Hippo 2. And that would just screw on, seal with the O-ring, just tighten that up. All right. Now, the gauge. This is obviously not reading accurately. It's way past 60. There's no liquid in it. This should be a liquid-filled gauge, and the boots come off. Looks like it's just worn away after multiple years in the field. So we're going to just replace the whole gauge. Alright, here's our new gauge. Look how nice that is. And because there's no O-ring, we're going to put a drop, Loctite. Okay. Beautiful. So it's starting to look new already. The last thing we want to do is rebuild this piston, lube it up. I'm sure it's the O-rings are dry and look crusty. So for that, 9/16 wrench one more time. Unscrew that. Put the cap down. Pull out the spring. And the spring. Watch out, they are 2 pieces, so you don't want to lose that spring. Here we have 4 O-rings. I'm going to take my pick and pull them all off. Now a lot of times with this piston, you can simply take a paper towel and wipe out any dirt and debris on these O-rings, and then re-lube them with silicone grease or Dielectric grease, same thing. You don't want to use a petroleum oil based grease. And these, a lot of times I'll just snap them, it makes it easier. Alright, and here I have my tire inflator gauge rebuild kit. There's also an O-ring on the cap. Okay, so this piston requires 4 O-rings. Make sure they go all the way into their groove. And this rebuild kit is for all generations of tire inflator. Just match the O-rings up in the kit to the one on your tire inflator. There might be extras left over. Oh, this last one's always tricky, but I got it in. Perfect. Alright. In the rebuild kit, you also get a packet of silicone grease and a Q-tip. Alright, so piston is rebuilt with fresh O-rings, nice and lubed up. Spring's good, and now we're going to swap out the O-ring on the cap. So this one's still in pretty good condition, but we'll swap it out anyway. Okay. And then just to keep this from cracking, we'll put just a little bit of lube on it. Okay. So, piston goes in. Make sure it goes all the way. You might need to push it down with the, you can use a Q-tip. Yep, looks good. Spring gets centered on that pin, and then cap goes on. Now, this old tire inflator is a little funky. The O-ring will get squished. Let's just kind of go slow. Alright, and there we go. Look at all these new components on this 15-year-old tire inflator body. It's like that old adage with the axe. You swap out the head, you swap out the handle, but the axe goes for years and years and years. I don't think any other tire inflator manufacturer can have that claim to fame.